Okay, let's be real. If you've ever lived through a big software rollout, you know that feeling, right? Months of planning, a huge investment, and then on day one, it feels like the whole company suddenly forgot how to do their jobs. It's this universal gut-wrenching experience, and we are going to unpack it today.
Does that sound familiar? I bet it does. This isn't just a random complaint. It's the sound of a crisis of expectation. It's that exact moment when the promised land of hyper-efficiency feels like a massive step backward. And let me tell you, that feeling, that sentiment, is a bigger threat to your project's success than any technical glitch ever will be.
So, what is actually going on here? Let's get right to the heart of it. The problem, 99% of the time, is not the software. The real problem is a flawed mindset, a trap that almost every single organization falls into. We call it the hunt for the perfect system. Look, we all fall into this trap. We expect the dream, a perfect system that does everything we want with perfectly clean data, and everyone's an expert on day one. But the reality of a successful launch looks a lot more like what we call a minimum viable product, or an MVP, and its goal isn't perfection, it's stability. It's all about making sure the core functions work and that your foundational data is clean. Proficiency, well, that's not instant. It has to be earned over time.
You know this gap between our expectations and reality? It leads directly to what's known as the productivity dip. It's that period where everybody feels slower, more clumsy. But this is not a sign of failure. It's actually a brain thing. Your team is literally having to rewire years of muscle memory. They're replacing old habits with new, conscious, deliberate actions. And that takes a ton of mental energy and time. You have to think of this as an investment period. You are intentionally trading a little bit of speed right now for enormous gains in accuracy and data integrity down the road.
So, how do we get out of this trap? How do we manage that dip without everyone losing their minds? We have to completely reframe the conversation. We need to get away from this black and white world of it's a success or it's a failure, and instead adopt a new maturity model that sees this for what it is, a journey. And the number one rule of this new model is a huge shift in our goals. The initial objective is not speed. It's not about all the fancy bells and whistles. The goal is to create a single, stable, and 100% reliable source of truth for the entire company. Everything else, everything, is built on top of that foundation.
So, what does this journey actually look like? Well, we break it down into three distinct, totally manageable stages. It's a framework we call good, better, best. Let's dive into what each of those stages actually means in the real world.
Here it is, the roadmap. First up is the good phase. This is for the first 6 months post-launch. And the only goal here is stability. Can we sell things, buy things, make things, and ship things without the whole system catching on fire? That's it. We're just learning to walk before we try to run. Then we move into the better phase, from about month 6 to 12. Now that we're stable, we can start focusing on efficiency. How can we automate those repetitive tasks? How do we smooth out the friction points we found? And finally, we get to the best phase, usually in years 2 and 3. This is where the system stops being just a tool and becomes a strategic weapon, where you're using data to innovate and gain a real competitive edge.
Now, I know that might sound a little bit abstract, so let's make this framework really tangible. Let's look at how just that first good stage can take a core part of your business from absolute chaos to foundational control. Let's start with inventory. You know what this looks like before an ERP? It's a world of tribal knowledge, where maybe only one guy, Bob, knows where everything is. It's a total mess of disconnected spreadsheets, which leads to you constantly running out of your best sellers, while dead stock just gathers dust in a corner. The result? Your balance sheet is a work of fiction, and the risk of human error is through the roof. Now, the good solution might not feel faster at first, but the control it gives you is what's absolutely crucial. Now, every single item has a defined home, a rack, a row, a bin. Your sales team can see in real time what's actually available to sell. And every single move that item makes creates a permanent digital audit trail. The chaos is gone, replaced by discipline. And this brings us right back to that classic complaint. Scanning everything takes forever. A champion who understands this maturity model has the perfect response. You're right, it takes 10 seconds longer now, but we are eliminating the 30 minutes we used to waste searching for lost items. We are trading seconds of speed for hours of accuracy. And it's the exact same story in other departments. In sales, leads just vanish into email black holes. Inconsistent pricing is chewing away at your margins.
And for accounting, month end is an absolute nightmare of manual reconciliation that can take weeks. By the time you see your financial reports, they're already ancient history. But in the good stage, that all changes because the entire process is unified. Suddenly, the sales pipeline is visible to everyone. Quotes are standardized, protecting your precious margins. And because you're not rekeying data between 3 different systems, your P&L is available in real time. Month end goes from weeks of pain to just days, or maybe even hours. Of course, even with all these amazing wins, you are going to face resistance. The human side of change is always the hardest part. So let's switch gears and talk about a playbook, a set of tools for your internal champions to handle those tough questions and manage that resistance. Okay, so when an employee comes to you and says, this system is broken, the first thing you have to do is diagnose the claim. Is it a real bug? Is it user error, or is it just resistance to change? If someone says they got an error, the magic phrase is show me. And here's a wild fact for you. Something like 90% of user-reported errors just disappear the moment you ask someone to replicate them. Show me is an incredibly powerful diagnostic tool. And what about those missing features? You're going to hear this. A stakeholder says, hey, the old system had this button that did my favorite thing. This new system doesn't. This is a downgrade. Well, now you have a powerful answer. You're not saying no. You're saying not yet. You explain. That's a great idea, and it's actually slated for the better phase. Right now, for the first 6 months, our non-negotiable priority is stability. See? You're reinforcing the strategy and managing their expectations. Ultimately, the absolute best way to win the change management battle is to move the conversation away from feelings and toward cold, hard facts. You need to present objective data that proves the value of what you're doing. Just look at this. This visualizes the hidden tax of an old, broken system. Think about it. Only 10% of your team's time was actually spent on work that adds value. A staggering 90% was just eaten up by friction. 40% on mind-numbing data entry, 30% just trying to find information, and another 20% fixing all the errors from the manual work. That's the before picture. And here is the after picture, shown with one beautiful metric, days to close the books. We go from a painful 15 days down to 10 in the good phase, and then all the way down to just 3 days once we hit the better phase. Now, this isn't just an accounting win. This means your entire leadership team is getting critical financial data weeks earlier, allowing them to make faster, much smarter decisions. Or how about this number? By getting rid of 3 separate systems, like a CRM, a bunch of spreadsheets, and an old accounting package, and moving to one integrated system, you eliminate 2/3 of your data entry points. That is a 66% drop in the risk of human error. Think of the hours saved, the mistakes avoided. It's massive. But honestly, beyond the hard numbers, some of the biggest wins are the ones you can't easily measure. It's the resilience you gain. What happens when your key warehouse manager gets sick? Before, shipping might have ground to a halt. Now, the knowledge is in the system, not just in their head. It's the ability to meet compliance standards without drowning in paperwork, because the system creates that audit trail for you automatically. So, if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's this. An ERP isn't a product you buy. It's a discipline you adopt. It's the discipline to keep your data clean and to follow a standard process. The perfect system. It's not something that's delivered in a box. It's built day by day by the very people who use it. And that leaves us with one final and I think crucial question for you to think about. When it comes to technology and change in your own organization, are you just trying to build a system or are you building a discipline?